So I'm about to share my lesson that I gave. So engaging lesson presentation. So why do I like this tool or practice, and what made me choose it? So it's based off of Betty Edwards' Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which is also mentioned in Dweck's book. And I remember doing this book as a child. And I also, in the past, have given students the upside down horse drawing as a way for them to look at something from a different viewpoints, and to help them really observe what they're drawing and get away from the symbol of drawing something to visual observations. And this is meant to increase their confidence in the classroom. And so I chose this tool, but I modified it. I made a drawing on AI, and then I made a cover sheet for it with a viewfinder hole. So I gridded the drawing that I made off of AI, and then I ran it through a copier. So every student had the same image to draw from. And then I made kind of a viewfinder that I put over the top that could be moved to each square, because I find that when students know what they're drawing, especially older students, they know even when it's upside down, they know what they're drawing. They're still thinking about that symbol of the object and what they feel like it should look like versus what they're actually looking at. And so I felt like it would be a good tool for this lesson, because we're going into portraiture, and oftentimes students will do anything to avoid it. A lot of them hate it. I still enjoy doing it, and I'm trying to find a way to make it more fun, engaging, yet challenging. So the final projects, they're going to be able to use Snapchat filters. It's going to be a gridded drawing, but kind of smaller. It's not going to be like the big huge ones that we used to do in high school. I'm going to let them keep it at a contour drawing. So I'm going to reduce the size of it, but it's still going to be challenging for them. I don't want to make it easy, but I don't want to make it daunting or to the point of refusal. But oftentimes I do like to do this project because when they're finished, a lot of students are really happy with the end result, and they're like, wow, I didn't realize I could do that. Or they do a lot better than what they expected they could do. So they don't come out with make an amazing ability to draw portraits professionally, but they do learn a lot of observational skills from it. So that's why I chose this. I feel like it's engaging. So this particular tool is because it is a mystery. They don't know what the drawing's going to be. And so I feel the students are kind of talking with themselves, guessing what it is. And they're all kind of working on the same thing. So it kind of brings them together as a group. Even though they're working individually, they're working pretty much on the same drawing. So somehow that brings them together in a sense. And oh, how did you do that? Or how did you do this? So they're kind of sharing and talking about the project together. And they're like, oh, it's not so bad, keep going. And, giving each other encouragement, which I think is really, really cool. And does it improve classroom management? I mean, definitely. I mean, if they're engaged, I feel like it is helping manage the classroom automatically, because they're enjoying what they're doing, and they're talking kind of with everyone in the class. And so it's like a positive experience. Um, the topic stays on the project at hand. Sometimes in art, once they get into their individual projects, and some of them last longer, conversations, aren't so much about the project all the time, which is fine, but it's nice to have those lessons where things stay really engaged and focused on what they're doing in that moment. If on a short project like this, or a short exercise. And how does it support the concept of growth mindset in my classroom? Well, since they don't know what they're doing, or they don't know what the drawing is, they can't look at it and automatically think, oh, I can't draw that. Sometimes they look at photos or pictures like, I can't draw that. Or I show them a work of art and they're like, I can't draw that. So there's a lot of I can't draw that. They don't know what they're doing, so they can't really place judgment on themselves whether they're able to accomplish it or not. They just have to kind of accept it and start doing it. And I think at first they were kind of like a little frustrated, but then once they got into it, they were like more accepting of it, and they're like, well, I guess it's just gonna turn out how it turns out. And I just encourage them, just put forth your best effort. It's about strategy. They did ask me like, do I shade this or do I shade that? And I said, so there's a couple things, they asked for instructions on. But I felt like, at some point, with this exercise, my goal is that they're not judging their abilities, but because they're not looking at the end product, but they're just more focused on the process and, saying it's okay if you make a mistake. It's just about doing this. And what changes would I make if I were to do this again? I'm not sure. I kind of like the idea of having the same drawing for everyone. And that is nice. I might change the subject matter because it is a portrait. Or I might try to simplify the drawing a little bit more. So I might change more of the drawing, I think. So basically, I'll just give a really quick overview of the lesson. I just said, okay, we're going to do a blind drawing. I had them grid out 7x7 grid, and then I passed out the blind drawings to them, which was the AI drawing underneath, the mast on top, and just told them to, copy square by square what they saw, and just to observe the positive and negative space, and shade where things are shaded, draw a line, and if they needed to go get other art supplies, they could do that to finish their drawing. But just to copy the square as they saw it. And we did some discussion techniques throughout, or I asked questions. I did have to clip some things out because there was a noisy wood shop where I got drowned out, and some students coming in and out. But I try to keep some highlights in, like a few things I said when I introduced the lesson, some discussions during the lesson, some of the students' reactions to the lesson, and how I reacted to the students. So I think it was really good for me, because I think in the future, watching the video in its entirety, I kind of can critique myself and see like, oh, how could I have responded to that student differently? Or what other responses could I bring into the lesson. So I critiqued myself more, not so much about the presentation of the lesson, but I'm critiquing the tool, or how I would change the tool is maybe the part of my responses. I think I gave some good ones, but I could catch myself maybe with a lot of praise, which I'm on the fence on. I think some is good. You want to encourage your student, but not going overboard with it. All right. It's about strategy. Okay? And I know I talk a lot about drawing what you see versus drawing what you know. Okay? So can anyone kind of like tell me like an example of that, like drawing what you see versus what you might know? Like for example, if you're drawing a sun, how would you draw a sun?
A circle with lines
coming out of the
little
circle.
rays coming out of it.
Okay. Okay, so that is what you see or what you know?
No.
What I know. What
Okay.
I see.
Because like if you see, it's just like a big.
It's like a big blob, and then it has like shading, almost like shading around it.
And when you're seeing it, what are you doing?
Squinting.
You're looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, ideally, maybe the sun's not. You don't want to look at the sun, but
Yeah, but like you know what I'm talking. You know what we mean.
yes, yes.
You have a really good sense of positive and negative space. So I think like once you get to the more difficult parts, you're going to be able to do those too. If you're thinking about it in the same way that you're approaching this, I think it's something. Like, what do you think?
Maybe. No. I guess we're just gonna have to see. It's a little difficult, Miss Irby.
Yeah, I said it wasn't going to be easy.
One square.
Well, you didn't tell us what it was either.
You didn't give us a heads
She
up.
can't give
You
us
didn't give us a heads up.
I just saw her put in boxes and I
Advantage of not knowing what you're drawing.
No, there's not any advantage. There is an advantage because then you don't. Like,
Not for Tatum
You can't mess it up.
exactly.
So,
Once it's done.
so Paulina, what do you think the advantage of not knowing what you're drawing is?
Being able to see how good your skills are. Being able to look at something and being able to copy it.
Like you can't see how good your skills are, or you can see.
You can see how good your skills are after
Oh, after.
you pick it up.
Oh, okay.
Since you don't know what to you don't know what to expect.
Oh, okay.
It's like opening a Christmas present.
So you
Yeah.
like opening a Christmas present. I like it.
You're so funny.
I am, and it's not looking. It's looking like a dinosaur.
Okay, so maybe you think it looks like a dinosaur, but you could think about like what I'm noticing so far, because I kind of know what the drawing is. I've looked at the lines. It looks like you're getting a good sense of the space.
It's
And
like a
it
very
is-
bony neck.
It's about strategy and doing your best.
Is it a spider? We all got the same drawing. Yeah.
Yes. So I just made an image on AI.
Mr. Is this my homework assignment?
Yeah, but I was actually kind of tying this into with what we're already doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I
it
think
is.
I did this.
It does tie with our curriculum. What?
It's not like totally. I think I did this like all wrong.
Just keep going.
Just don't worry. Don't worry if you make a mistake. Just keep going and just trust. I mean, like I want you to put forth your best effort. Put forth your best effort. You know, with your observational skills, what you're observing on the paper. But if you make a mistake, I mean,
Yeah, but just keep going.
you can like
You don't
learn.
even know what it's supposed to be in right now.
You can learn from that too. You can learn from your mistake. You know, like if you make a mistake, you can keep going.
I think Marta